And Spanish mackerel, I will have 1 Spanish mackerel and half a pound of your best tuna.
You got it, sir.
Excellent. Now, since temperature and quality have a direct correlation, whenever I shop for fresh fish, I always bring a wee cooler of ice to portal my catch home. There you go. Now, the United States government happens to believe that fish that has been flash frozen to about 20 below zero is actually safer than fresh fish. And there are several mail order organizations here in the United States that will ship you vacuum packed flash frozen fish. So if you don't have a fishmonger like this, you can certainly consider that an option. Just don't tell him I said that, okay?
Hey, man, that hurts.
Just cut the fish. If I've said it once, I've said it at least, I don't know, 5 times. Organization will set you free. This has never been more true than it is in the making of sushi. I like to work on a large wooden board. I'll be cutting raw fish on it. Yes, I am okay with that. I have some attractive service pieces. I have some pickled ginger orgari. I have nori sheets, which I have cut in half. I always roll with half sheet sizes. I have 2 rolling mats, a large bamboo mat and a smaller one wrapped in cellophane for California roll. We'll see that shortly. I've got about a pint of water spiked with 2 tablespoons of rice wine vinegar. I have the rice that we've made earlier. I have some wasabi for garnish. I have 1 large sushi knife, very big, very sharp. You don't have to use that because you might take your finger off. So feel free to use any slicing knife with a narrow blade. Although it might be tempting to have your fishmonger cut the fish into strips for you, don't do that. It will just age and oxidize very quickly. So leave it whole and cut off what you need as you need it. Now always cut very thin and always cut against the grain. Now on a tuna steak like this, which was cross-cut to begin with, that means laying your knife over and cutting on the bias. That will ensure that the meat will fall apart in your mouth instead of being chewy. Now, for a round fish or flat fish fillet like this, cutting against the grain is a little bit different. That means angling this way because you can see the grain runs this way. In 1809, a sushi maker named Yohei came up with an idea that changed the world: fast food. Now, this was Edo, Tokyo, but before it was Tokyo. And it was about the size of London back then, and its population was known to have a lot of taste, but not a lot of patience. Yohei wanted to satisfy both of these urges, so he took a little slice of fish, grated on some fresh wasabi, and then flipped it over and pressed it into a hand-pressed oval of rice. He named the form nigiri. Sold them by the piece, and they have been popular ever since. Let's watch how they get made.
So now what? You trying to steal my techniques?
No, I'm just watching.
Yeah, I know you're always watching, but how about paying your bills sometimes?
A good itamae is known to be able to keep with like 10 or 20 customers at one time without ever writing anything down. Of course, I can't help but notice the place is practically empty.
That's it. You gotta get out of here now.
Freeze program. I gotta work on this. And now, we nigiri. The most important thing to note about sushi manufacturing is that you do not want to squeeze, you do not want to squish the rice. You want there to be plenty of air in between the granules so when it hits your mouth, it basically just kind of falls apart. But it does have to be shaped, and I go through the same little ritual or the same series of movements each time I do this so that the fish is just adhered on top. And there we have it. Nigiri maguro, the oldest and perhaps purest form of sushi. The second most popular form, or maki, has rather dark origins. Legend has it that tuna maki, or tekka maki, was invented in an Edo gambling house some night in the 18-something or others. A gambler, desperate to keep his hand on the dice, demanded that the cook concoct for him a snack that he could munch with one hand. Well, the cook went into the kitchen, grabbed some little tuna scraps and some rice, and wrapped it up in a piece of nori, thus creating something that looked like a big green burrito. Now, Faithful fans of this show will find irony in this tale because on the other side of the world, perhaps on the very same night, I, John Montague, Lord of the Dance and Earl of Sandwich, the fourth or third, I don't know which one I am, but I'm a notorious gambler, and I have just beckoned my servant to bring forth a slab of roast beef packed between two pieces of bread so that I might take nourishment without having to give up my cards. And thus was born the sandwich. Take your sticky dice. Tekkemaki, of course, requires a tuna, just a little bit. I like to slice a couple of pieces off of a larger fillet, thusly, again, against the grain, and then I split those down the middle into narrow fingers. Be careful. There you go, that's certainly enough for one. And lay out your mat. Flat side needs to be up, and now bring the edge all the way to the end of your board. Then grab yourself a piece of nori. Now, nori has two sides, shiny and rough, and you want the rough side placed up. Get some water on your fingers. You want them wet but not dripping, so just have a towel nearby, and then grab some rice. Now, it's always easier to take some rice off the roll than to add some later, so use enough rice and bring it right up to about 1/4 inch away from the edge of the nori. Rub on a little wasabi, however much you want, it's completely up to you, and then the fingers of tuna go right down the middle, overlapping ever so gently. Hold the tuna in place with your fingers and then roll the mat over and squeeze just enough to seal the roll. You don't want to squish it. And grab your knife, dip it in water. That'll help the blade from catching in the seaweed. Split that roll in half, double it over, and split into 6 pieces. Remember, use full sawing motions, don't push down. A little gari on one side, maybe a little wasabi on the other, and you are good to go. Once upon a time, a sushi chef in California got a crazy idea. He thought he would take the rice out of the inside of the roll and put it on the outside of the roll. And thus was born a roll that has no raw fish in it at all, America's favorite sushi, the California roll. Let's make one. You will need avocado, some crab, and some cucumber sticks. You will need your plastic-covered mat. You will place 1 sheet of nori on that mat. You will get your hands wet. You will get hold of some rice, and you will build just as before. Only this time, you're going to add some sesame seeds, and then you're going to flip the whole thing over onto the mat. Take 1/4 of avocado, slice very thin. I usually get 4, sometimes 5 slices out of this. And the avocado goes down on the nori first. This will give you a nice foundation that won't slide around when you start adding other ingredients. 3 or 4 pieces interlocking will do. Ordinarily crab, real crab is used here, but you can use crab with a K, which is usually made from pollock, believe it or not, but it still tastes pretty good. Just split a piece of that or the real crab leg into several pieces, and then top that with maybe 8 of the long pieces of cucumber. Roll using even pressure. Although the fillings, or goo, are completely up to you, resist the urge to add more than about 3 different items in the middle here. Any more than that, and your palate is just going to get confused. Besides, they'll be really hard to roll. Once you've got it rolled, apply a little even pressure just to set the rice, and then continue as before, dipping your knife in water, splitting in half, and then doubling up and cutting into 6 pieces. Some of the rice is going to fall off. That's okay. Thank you very much. Now, at most sushi-ya, you will be served 3 accompaniments with your sushi. You will have some soy sauce or shoyu, some gari or pickled ginger, and a wee little wad of wasabi, or if not real wasabi, mixed wasabi paste. Now, as for the gari, as mentioned before, it is usually used as a palate cleanser, but you can also just treat it as a side dish, just munch away. It is said to be very, very good for the digestion. As for the little wad of wasabi sitting so sinisterly on the plate, I say leave it be. Do not go mixing this up with your shoyu unless it is for dipping sashimi, which of course is fish, raw fish, without the rice. The way I figure it is if the itamae wanted there to be a wasabi inside the piece of sushi, he or she would have put it there, okay? Now, when it comes to the shoyu, it's very important that you remember that it's there to underline flavors, not cover them up. So you want to go very, very sparing, and you do not, under any condition, want to go dumping the entire ball of shari, the rice ball, inside the sauce. So here's how you do it. Oh, and remember, sushi was invented as finger food, so fingers are always permissible. And the dip. And yes, you eat it all in one bite.
What'd you say?
No,
What'd you say about my sister? I heard you say something about my sister.
Full program! Full program! Well, as I was mumbling, I hope that we have given you the courage to jump feet first into the culinary pool that is sushi. If you're already a fan, maybe it's time to try a little rice and roll of your own. If you've always shied away, well, trust me, exotic though it may seem, sushi is certainly good eats. See you next time. Make it disappear.